Hello people of the internet, it's Amanda, and if you're new here on my channel, I usually talk about Japanese dramas, movies, entertainment. Sometimes I tap into other Asian pop culture topics as well, but one of the constant things that I just love here on my channel is talking about number I. So I've been such a huge fan of Sho, Kishi, and Jin ever since they were in their previous era, and now that they're entering this new phase in their careers where they are reborn as number I just have to constantly talk about them whenever they're doing something new, something exciting. I feel like this is also a new era or a new phase here on my channel where I kind of like double down on the content that I've been doing about them. Like you can check my channel and you would see my playlist and past videos back when they were still in Kimpuri, but now there's just a ton of videos that I've been doing for number I because they've been doing quite a lot and it's not even half the year yet. So there's that. Now you've seen the title of the video below, so you would know that we would be talking about the Bond music video. But before that, real quick, I just want to address like a couple of things that I want to talk about as well. That's kind of like related to number I. So the first things first is in my previous video where I talked about their M-Step performance, I also mentioned that they would be having advertisements here in Manila, courtesy of Spotify. It'll be in promotion for No.O-ring, and it got me really excited. I wasn't sure if I was able to like see it because it was only here for 3 days and my previous week was a lot busy. It was also in one of like the busiest highways we have here, and you can only see it through either the train station where it's kind of like visible, or if you're riding by car, but because it's in an LED screen, so you really have to like wait for it. So it was quite an adventure trying to capture the ad and to see it. If you haven't seen the Reels, TikTok, or Shorts that I posted of the video of, you know, the ads here in Manila, so just check it out somewhere on my channel. But I'll also be showing photos right now of how it looks like. And yeah, it's just super cool to see them in an ad here in my home country. Like it also, the ads also started around, you know, like the week of the 20th of May, which just over a year ago was such a kind of like devastating time. Like if you know what happened over a year ago around May. But as a fan of them from, you know, their previous era, it's so unbelievable to kind of like see ads of them in my home country. It wasn't something that I've even imagined over a year ago, given all of the complicated events that had happened, but it finally happened, and of course I had to go see it. So I was really happy I was able to like witness that. And then on another note, so I've listened to the No.O-ring tracks already multiple times already. I feel like I absolutely love the track list a lot more than I did with GOAT, but I still love, you know, the GOAT B-sides. I'm a blow your cover girly. You know that from the way that I talked about that song here on my channel previously. But I absolutely loved I don't know, I just absolutely love the variety of genres that they have with the songs in this release, in this mini album. And I'm glad that aside from the usual like hip-hop dynamic tracks that they've been pushing out so far, they've also released a couple of ballads and a couple of other like just chill feel-good songs in this particular release as well. Now that you're here to watch me react and talk about the Bond music video, so let's just get to it. I like this very kind of like hypnotic intro that they're doing right here. Sho went off with this rap or vocals in this particular intro. Okay, so for this first part right here, I kind of like the vibe that was going in terms of what the scene looks like. So they look like they kind of like fit in the party scene, the way that they're dressed, the way that they look. But at the same time, they also look out of place in terms of just their expressions and what they're doing in the middle of all this chaos. Like it's kind of like a good metaphor for how it is with the industry, where there's definitely a lot of like uniformity in there, trying to fit in so that you could sell or all these other things. But at the same time, it looks like they're chasing after something that's completely different. Like they're kind of like drowning out that noise, that overwhelming idea of what's happening around them, and just trying to find that particular, I don't know, like entryway into what they want to do. And the lyrics is also very reflective of that. Like they're talking about how it's not just about fame and status, it's about being the best in this craft that you choose to do and follow. And again, like you can see it here, where in the middle of all of that, they're in search of something. They're kind of like either blending in, but not so, all these other stuff. And then we enter the maze. I like the reference in terms of like when I first heard of Bon, and I think I've talked about this on Twitter. Someone I think also mentioned it in my other video, which I completely forgot to talk about. It reminded me of Bon Odori, which is part of, you know, the Obon festival in Japan, but at the same time it transformed into just celebrating or commemorating your ancestors and you know, and your roots and all of these things, into this wide festival of just celebrating festivities and dancing. And I think at some point, like it mobilizes a lot of dancers and does this like street festivity, and people can watch it. And I think in some portion of the festival you can learn about it or even like join the dance, but obviously like not the massive street dance one. But it's kind of like this invitation to be with that larger crowd. It's a reference to this tradition and part of Japanese culture that I think is very prominent in a lot of Number Eyes releases so far, which I'll dive deep into later into the video. But it's kind of nice that, you know, it's not just them diving into the concept of bonsai, but with Bon Odori, you know, they're making all these references, which I think is absolutely amazing. Sorry. Let's go back to that part because I absolutely love it. Here, like there's so many doors, again, looking like traditional slide doors in Japan, and it forms this maze. And then they're kind of like lost. That part with Kishi right there, I referenced that on Twitter as Shingeki no Kyojin. Because it reminded me so much of the Shingeki no Kyojin titans, where especially the ones who are super like weird whenever they're running crazily. I love Shingeki no Kyojin, by the way. So this, I don't know, I found that really funny, especially in the midst of it all. Like that was the first hint that this wasn't going to be just a very typical music video. It's not going to be as straightforward as it is, and comparing that to, you know, like what we think of this music video. So yeah. This is so cool. Now, Sho did an IG live last night and watched it along with fans. And this was the part that he also kept replaying after the initial premiere one. And I think that's super cool. And I think for this scene, what I absolutely love about this is that earlier they were in the same level as the people partying, right? But now they're on a different platform. So it kind of like them setting themselves apart from that overwhelming chaos that they were in the middle of and being so overwhelmed by and confused by at the beginning of the video. It's them finding their roots and actually growing from that, which is what the bonsai kind of like imagery is like at the back. Again, all of these are just my interpretations of this music video. I do think that there's a lot of imagery that is being used here. And whether or not these things are intentional, it's just fun to analyze them. And that's how I interpret this particular scene right here, is them finally stepping up into their own platform and building their roots and creating their own thing that is beyond what is in that crowd that they're getting lost by at the beginning. So this is just so beautiful. I saw that the director for this one is similar to Magic Touch and Tsukiyomi and another thing. Oh my god, I completely forgot. And Ichiban, I think. So it explains why it's so beautiful. And I do think just the vibe of this part right here, I love. And the bonsai just keeps on growing. And then for this one, like they're entering, wait, let's go back a little bit. I'm not sure why I'm trying to show you when I'm gonna add a video right here anyways, but yeah. Here they're entering a door X-1. And again, this is just my interpretation, but for them, it's always kind of like that starting point and then eventually like going beyond what they've already achieved. Like I remember reading their interview for the maps, where Shaw talked about how he was really happy as to how GOAT turned out, but he also reminded himself that it's not something that they should already be satisfied with. Even if that music video trended, it became number one and it turned charts. Like I think that's always the attitude with them, which reflects this. Like they're always at the starting point, and whenever they achieve something, it's always -1 or a step back again, because they want to go further and just explore more things. And I think that's just really beautiful in how they kind of like position themselves as. And then here, they just keep on rising and rising and rising. And then this switch right here, I found it so fun because again, Japan is well known for, you know, action figures, for a lot of pop culture things, and for them to be able to like reference all these other things as well as, you know, later on into the music video, I think it's just amazing because again, it doesn't fit just a usual standard of how music videos are right now, where it's catering to a commercial audience. This is introducing themselves as a group who are rooted in Japan, and this is their music, this is their artistry, and being able to put that out there, taking that risk of kind of like being too alienating to the audience that you're actually trying to reach, which is like a foreign overseas audience. But at the same time, there's like less care about that because it's more of like introducing them to this concept rather than just diving into what's already familiar to that audience that you're targeting, which I think is really cool. And again, I absolutely love the change in media that they did. So this is stop motion as compared to, you know, just a typical video format, which I think is absolutely creative. And yeah. And again, this part I absolutely love. As someone who grew up watching Dragon Ball Z, the reference is just amazing. And with Toriyama sensei also passing away recently, with all the tributes, this may come in late, but it's also an absolutely beautiful kind of like tribute to the impact that Dragon Ball has, not just in Japan, but all over the world. And for them to also be able to inject that in a music video that kind of like embodies who they are as artists, that's just super cool, I think. And yeah, there's just an amazing cultural impact that Dragon Ball has, not just within like fellow artists in the Japanese manga industry, but also in different parts of like pop culture and all these other things. And like me, I grew up in the Philippines, but I absolutely love watching Dragon Ball as a kid. So it's kind of like this aspirational connection of what number I want to be for a global audience as well. And I don't know, and I think it's just super common to have a Dragon Ball reference now, not just now but even before. And yeah, I just found it exciting when I saw this part. So yeah. Super cool. This part right here, the message to the haters, an absolute slay. Like they're saying it's not fighting them with hate, but more and again, like these are all very visually stimulating scenes back to back. Just there's a lot of level of creativity that went into it. There's definitely a lot of just it's not what you expect. And I think that's the appeal of GOAT as well. Like you never knew where that music video was headed. And it's the same thing as this. Like you know that you're in for something a little bit familiar, especially if you've seen GOAT before. But then they bring a new level of creativity into the table with what they did with Bon. And I just absolutely love that. And I absolutely love this part as well because again, the concept of a bonsai is, it's not really like it's as compared to other parts of horticulture or gardening. It's the purpose of it isn't to produce food or for medicinal purposes. Its purpose is mainly for aesthetics, right? So its relationship for the creator as well as the viewer is very subjective in a sense that it's all about creativity and it's all about cultivating like all these other different, like all these, like its purpose is dependent on who's doing it and who's viewing it. And it's created into this like small pot where it's not supposed to like cage the growth of the bonsai itself, but rather to help it kind of like thrive in that environment where it's put and shape it in a way that's beautiful. And I think that's how it is, you know, in the music industry, there's only so much room where you can move and grow and all these other things, but that doesn't mean that you can't make it into something that is your own. Another thing that I think Sho mentioned in their Instagram live is talking about how like the wire that is used to shape the bonsai is like the relationship with their fans, where together they can shape it into something beautiful and they can grow together. And that's the same thing with just the idea of a bonsai as well. Like again, it's not there for any other like super wide purpose or functional purpose, if you will, but there's this part of the song where they talk about, you know, you are the one who can decide the value of this song. Is similar to the bonsai because people who create it and again look at it are the ones kind of like deciding the beauty or how much value there is to it, because there's no really other purpose of it other than that, to celebrate artistry, to celebrate beauty, and to just preserve something, but at the same time do not restrict its growth. And I don't know, it's just such a beautiful, it's a lifelong commitment as well in terms of maintaining it. And it's just a beautiful parallel, the way that they did this with how they grow as an artist. And I think it's just like a smart concept overall. So yeah. Then here, like if you go up way up high, go up really fast in terms of just the numbers and anything, it can be really turbulent. This can go for either like success or like album sales or stream downloads or all these other things. And it can get really crazy, but at the end of the day, you all go back to just zero. You know, it's always gonna have like this restart of everything, and you can always start from scratch and try something else. And each time you treat it as that, and you would be able to enter this new world. And I absolutely love this. I talked about this on Twitter. They're standing behind them is a monolith, and a monolith can mean or symbolize so many things. It can symbolize, number one, a very rigid kind of like structure that only cares for uniformity in a system, but doesn't really care for individualism. But they're standing in front of it, meaning they are going against that idea. It can also symbolize a kind of like commitment that they have, like it's unwavering commitment to the craft that they're doing. Or it can also be like something that, given how vast the space is, it can show that this can be way into the future where the only left standing is the monolith, aka the legacy that they're leaving behind. So all these other things, it can be interpreted in so many different ways. And again, as I've mentioned, with the idea of a bonsai, it's meant to be there as a symbol of growth and commitment to something that is long-term. And it displays this idea of artistry, and I do think that it's amazing that this music video, as well as the song, the idea of it can be interpreted in so many different ways. And here, like the only left standing tall. So again, just so many things to make for this video. And then just when you think it's over, it transitions into this. I've talked about this briefly on Twitter as well. The kid with the ramen bottle, and it's something that is very Japanese. Then you see these kids kind of like, you know, and then the Kamishibai. Now the Kamishibai is kind of like this form of paper theater where like storytellers would go from one place to the next, and they have like these things. It's kind of like dioramas, but not really, because they change up, you know, the art that is in that particular box to tell a story to kids, all these other things. And it's again, it's this definitely like a cultural thing in Japan. And they're also like the Showa period vibes in this as well. I saw somewhere that there's this one particular thing with Kamishibai where some travelers, they would use drums to kind of like alert people or children that it's happening, you know, so that they would come and gather to watch the show, if you will. So that's really cool. And then this part right here, it shows that even in modern clothing, like they're still incorporated in this kind of like traditional aspect, which again is what Number I is. They're trying to merge that idea of, they're trying to put this out into the world, but at the same time, this is their roots. And it's so cool. Like again, the mixed medium, the way that they're doing it, so creative. And it's kind of like, again, it's kind of like these Showa Oji-sans are trying to kind of like tell the story of these three people who are in the future, who are in futuristic things, and telling them to this generation. I don't know, there's just so many things to interpret in this music video that I really find super fun and exciting. And then this part right here, like the anime eyes, the like the art of tea. Now, tea didn't originate in Japan, obviously, but they really transformed it into an industry and an art form as it is. Mochi. And this kind of like the ending of it, it definitely reminds you of a lot of like what Japan is known for outside of the country, especially when it comes to their art, commercials, music videos. Because when you talk to people who are not that much into Japanese music or I don't know, when they think of Japan, they think of these really like nice, quirky type of content, like seen in commercials and other things, because Japan has an ingenious way of trying to deliver something to make it, I don't know, of interest to people. And for those who are unfamiliar with that side of the culture, they just find it really quirky or eccentric sometimes. As I personally can, like, some people have preconceived notions about that side of the art of it, but to me it's just never running out of ideas and just being creative overall. And again, this kind of like quirkiness right here embodies that. This part right here, sorry, let me just go back a little bit. This part right here, I just found out from a lot of people on Twitter, so I'm not going to take credit for this, that apparently this is a reference to a meme from a couple of years ago. So again, this is just an inside joke that Japanese people would get. But again, it's kind of like this thing where if you try to look into what this music video is and you're not familiar with Japanese culture, it might like fly over your head. But they're so unafraid to do something like this or incorporate something like this in their music videos while still aiming for a global audience. And I absolutely find that really, really interesting, to be honest. And then this one right here, this reminds me of their KP era and even way beyond that, because they've had stuff like this done to them for this isn't the first time. For a long time fans, you would know. But it's also one of the things that people kind of like think of when it comes to quirky Japanese variety shows. Like, there's always this gag, weird things that happen. It's not your typical like game shows or whatever, and for them to kind of like incorporate again all these other ideas and contrasting this from, you know, how the music video started, super interesting. And if you think it ends there, still not. And I like how they're kind of like heading towards that direction, and kind of like representative of, they're gonna tell their story again, like they're gonna move to retell their story in a different place, but it's a bit turbulent, so you see there's like a storm approaching there, so they might not know how it will work out for them, but they're still going there with their smiles on. And that's how I interpret the final scene right there. And I do think that overall it's just very interesting, especially with a lot of artists involved in the making of this music video. And yeah, I think I wouldn't claim to like be able to recognize all the other references in this music video. If I missed anything else, please tell me down in the comments below. I would absolutely love to hear about all the other things that I missed that you probably have noticed in this one. But it's just so much fun because I think we can go on and on trying to explore the different sides or the different metaphors or symbolisms or just references in this music video, and we'd never run out. And I absolutely love how it's completely different from GOAT as well, but the message that it conveys overall is very similar, which is their aim, their goal, their values as artists, and how they're reintroducing that into this whole different format, which I think is absolutely great. And yeah, and overall I just absolutely love Number I. I love No.O-ring. I am looking forward to whether or not they're gonna release another kind of music video tied to this release or whatever, but whatever they have in store for me, I'm sure that I'm gonna be super hyped for it. I'm looking forward to the CDTV performance later today, and I think that's mostly that. Really happy to finally see this music video. It's also produced, like the song is also produced by Sho, and it's just simply amazing as expected of him. It makes sense when you listen to the tracks how each of their styles are reflected in the songs that they produced. Banana was such a huge surprise because I think we're all kind of like wondering if it's gonna be similar to Oresen or like Battle of Butler, or all these other things. I thought it was gonna be another meme song, but apparently not. Apparently it's just a super nice, fun, chill song, and I absolutely am proud of Kishi for producing such a song. Being a shotan, I absolutely love Focus. I still love the song, and the song I, which was also produced by Sho, has a similar vibe of, you know, how it is to not push yourself to feel perfect and to indulge even in the smallest sources of happiness. I absolutely love that. Like, it's still painful to listen to songs from their previous era, and that includes Focus, and to have this new song right here, I don't know, it's just, it made me really emotional last night, and I didn't expect that I would cry listening to these songs, because I was expecting that their songs are gonna be, you know, very dynamic, very, I don't know, it would have that similar vibe as with Blow or Recover and the GOAT EP, but when I heard and it wasn't what I was expecting at all. I was expecting it to be like a dance song as well. It made me really emotional, and so just putting it out there. Well, that's it for today's video. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. Just talk to me down in the comments below, please, please, please. I absolutely love reading and responding to comments. And that's it for today's video. I hope to talk to you again soon. Bye bye.